Hey everybody, welcome back to Investing with Wesley. To me, this is going to be an extremely fun episode to make because today I want to talk about gold and I also want to talk about Bitcoin and compare the two. In some of my recent videos about CBDCs and buying Bitcoin and gold to get around that system, there has been a lot of comments that make me believe there's a lot of misconceptions about the differences between gold and Bitcoin, and it's what led me to make this video so I can give you, the viewer, a better understanding of the value that Bitcoin and gold both have. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so for starters, I just want to point out that I am not biased towards gold or Bitcoin. I think both of them are perfect investment solutions to avoid this CBDC fiasco that's about to take place. But a lot of people are either all in on gold or all in on Bitcoin, saying gold is the thing of the past, and the gold bugs are saying that Bitcoin is just digital, it's fugazi, it doesn't exist, and it's basically a scam. But the truth is they're both basically right down the middle, and if you look at the facts on how each gold and Bitcoin is valued, you'll see that they're basically the exact same thing, which is why Bitcoin is called digital gold. Now, if you're one of the people that's a gold freak and all in on gold, before you click off the video, let me explain, because gold and Bitcoin actually get their value from the exact same thing. For starters, there's a lot of people out there commenting on some of these videos saying that Bitcoin is equal to fiat currency and that if fiat fails, Bitcoin will fail as well. And the truth is that Bitcoin is the exact opposite of fiat currency. Fiat currency is basically currency based on trust. Trust that the government says it's valued at whatever it's valued at. Bitcoin takes all trust out of the equation and is strictly based on verification. Any individual watching this video right now with a Bitcoin node can log into the blockchain, search the blockchain, verify which transactions have actually happened, and verify the total money supply, the total 21 million Bitcoins out there, and can totally verify absolute everything. Bitcoin's motto is don't trust, verify. So when it comes to Bitcoin being a fiat currency, it is just a misconception that's not true, and Bitcoin is actually the exact opposite of fiat. It requires zero trust, and anyone can verify the total money supply, the total value, the total transactions, whereas with government fiat currency, you can't. You can't verify the total money supply. You can only look at what the government tells you the total money supply is. You can't verify transactions have been made by third and fourth parties because all of that is privatized. But with Bitcoin, you can verify every single transaction that has ever taken place. The second one is that Bitcoin cannot and will not operate as money. And the truth is that Bitcoin and gold actually pass the 6 laws of money. Those 6 laws are durability, portability, divisibility, fungibility, scarcity, and acceptability. Both Bitcoin and gold pass all 6 of those tests when it comes to operating as money. Now, admittedly, gold is better at some of these 6 laws than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is better at some than gold. So let's talk about durability. Gold is an extremely durable metal. It doesn't corrode with weather or anything like that. Bitcoin is the exact same way. Bitcoin is extremely durable, it is extremely secure, and when used properly with hardware wallets and cold storage wallets and stuff, getting things off the exchanges to remove counterparty risk, it is extremely durable and extremely secure. So both pass the durability test. The next one is portability. Both of them are extremely portable, but Bitcoin admittedly is way more portable than gold will ever be. If you wanted to move $1 million worth of gold, that is an extremely large amount of gold. But if you wanted to move $1 million worth of Bitcoin, everything can be done limitless in a USB drive, in a cold storage drive. If you wanted to move that, it is wireless, it is across the internet, and it is completely portable. Whereas moving actual physical gold is a lot more work and a lot more high risk when it comes to theft, because they could see all the gold that you're carrying. This is why we stopped moving gold as transactions in the olden days when we were still on the gold standard, and instead of paying with actual gold, started paying with gold-backed notes from a bank, because the bank notes were a lot more safer and a lot easier to move around. Divisibility is another one that both test. It's a lot easier to fractionalize a digital currency like Bitcoin, but the same is also true for gold. You can have a kilogram bar of gold, you can have a few ounces of gold, you can have a gram of gold, you could have a half gram or 1/100th of a gram of gold. Both and Bitcoin are extremely divisible and both pass that test. Fungibility. Fungibility is the ability for things to basically be the same. A dollar is a dollar dollar no matter what, and Bitcoin is Bitcoin no matter what. Same thing with gold. Sure, there's a lot of fakes out there. There's a lot of fake gold out there, but real gold is real gold, and real gold is easy to pass with chemical analyzed tests. So you know that gold is gold. And the same thing with Bitcoin. There is a lot of fake wannabe Bitcoins out there, like Bitcoin Gold or Bitcoin Cash and wrapped Bitcoin and so on. But Bitcoin, as it started, is Bitcoin no matter what. But just like we talked about in the start of this video, you can verify every transaction, every wallet's amount of Bitcoin that they hold, and so on. So if I told you that I sent you $1,000 worth of Bitcoin as a payment for something, you can immediately log on to the blockchain and verify that, if not logging on to your wallet itself and verifying that you received the funds. Now for a second, we'll skip scarcity and talk about acceptability, because this is the only part that Bitcoin kind of lacks at when compared to gold, is how well do people accept this new currency? Gold has stood the test of time for millennia, and everyone accepts it as a form of currency. When all fiat currencies crumble to the ground, gold will still be the shiny rock that it is, that is always known to hold value and can be used to purchase goods or trade with. Gold has been accepted by all. And Bitcoin, I think, is just too new and very volatile when it comes to gaining people's trust and acceptability. But once you look at Bitcoin through the lens of an actual currency and not an investment, it becomes widely more acceptable, and you really understand the benefits that Bitcoin can bring. Okay, on screen you see a price graph. Now, this is to talk about the next misconception that people have when it comes to Bitcoin and gold. And that is that people say Bitcoin can never act as money because it is just way too volatile. Now, showing you this graph, does this look volatile to you? And anyone looking can probably say, yes, it goes super up and super down and looks completely volatile. But the truth is, this is the inflation adjusted graph for the long-term price of gold. And this next image that's on screen is the graph when it comes to Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin started in 2015, so it doesn't have nearly the amount of time and charting that gold does. But when looked at a fully zoomed out scale from the total history of Bitcoin to the total history of gold, you can see that both of them are equally as volatile as each other. Now, I will say that in the short term, gold doesn't really do a whole lot. It doesn't move a whole lot, which is why a lot of people consider it a storehold of wealth. Whereas we've seen Bitcoin in a matter of weeks or months completely annihilate and drop, 20, 30, sometimes even 50%. So in that sense, in the short term, Bitcoin is definitely more volatile than gold. But looking at these two price charts that are both inflation adjusted, you can see that gold is equally as volatile long term as Bitcoin is. Okay, now lastly is my favorite argument, and that is Bitcoin is not backed by anything. It is completely digital and therefore has no real value. And to be honest, neither does gold. When you really think about it, Bitcoin is just some computer programming, some lines of code that say, these particular lines of code are equal to this amount of dollars or this amount of value, right? Bitcoin is completely digital. But gold isn't really backed by anything either. The value of gold is determined by what the people say it is in reality. Because in reality, gold is just a shiny rock that people like and that historically has been used as currency. And this is where some people argue that, yeah, technically gold isn't backed by anything either, other than people like shiny rocks, but that there is industrial uses for gold as well. And although that's true, there's industrial uses for gold and there isn't industrial uses for Bitcoin. You don't buy gold and you don't invest in gold and hoard a bunch of gold based on its industrial value. The same thing is true for diamonds. Diamonds don't get its value from the industrial uses of diamonds. Diamonds get its value because people like shiny rocks. They like diamonds. But this is where the two do get its value from, because believe it or not, gold and Bitcoin are both backed by something. And that's the effort and energy it takes to bring its respective items into the world. The amount of effort and time and money it takes to find gold veins, mine them, process them, polish them, and mint them, all go into bringing the gold its value. we truthfully have no idea how much gold there is in the earth. So it's always a cat and mouse game of hide and seek, trying to find where the gold is and then mining it out and processing it. All that work is what goes into the value of gold. And the same is true for Bitcoin. Although it's a totally different process, we know exactly how many Bitcoins are ever going to be out there in existence. We can answer that number, but mining it, the amount of energy it takes, the amount of computing processing power it takes, the amount of electricity it takes to run those computing processing programs, all those things to mine a single Bitcoin or to mine a single block or a single chunk of the Bitcoin blockchain. All of that is the exact same thing as someone digging in the dirt to mine for gold. Whether you're mining for gold or mining for Bitcoin, the amount of energy and resources it takes to attain 1 ounce of gold or 1 coin of Bitcoin, it's how both items get its value. And it's for this very reason why Bitcoin is considered digital gold, because really when you compare apples to apples, when you give them both the exact same tests, they're really the exact same, which is why I have no bias towards gold and I have no bias towards Bitcoin. The downsides of Bitcoin are the upsides of gold, and the downsides of gold are the upsides of Bitcoin. Gold is not that portable, whereas Bitcoin is. Bitcoin isn't necessarily as tangible and reliable as a good old chunk of gold in your hand, because Bitcoin's greatest flaw is that it is digital and online. Now, you could take it offline. You could store your Bitcoin in a digital wallet that is separate from the internet and is super secure. That is the durability of Bitcoin. But if an end of the world event happens and there's no more internet, your Bitcoin is basically worthless, whereas you still have a brick of gold. But that is really the only downside to Bitcoin and the only true upside to gold. The portability with the Bitcoin is way better than gold. The scarcity of Bitcoin is way better than gold. The fungibility of anyone and everyone being able to look onto the blockchain and see that these transactions have happened and that this Bitcoin is what you say it is better than it can be with gold, because people can wrap different metals in gold and still trick chem tests into thinking it's pure gold. Same with divisibility. You can divide a digital currency infinitesimally down to the smallest fraction, and theoretically you can also do that with gold, but at that point it'd be extremely difficult to pass the fungibility test. So like I said, where Bitcoin fails, gold succeeds, and where gold fails, Bitcoin succeeds. The two are just opposite sides of the same coin, and that same coin being different monetary systems to avoid totalitarian tyrannism from the federal government with the CBDC program. I hope I helped you understand both gold and Bitcoin a little better. I hope I helped shed new light on the thought of Bitcoin or the thought of gold being a great alternative to fiat currency and a hedge against fiat currency. If I did, leave a comment down below, message me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and we can keep this conversation going. Either way though, the choice is yours, and I'll see you in the next episode.